If you attain jhana and you listen to the Dhamma, you might become an arahant. But you don't need to aim for arahanthood. The first stage to aim for is stream winning. And stream winning is by studying the suttas. So the first thing to do, if a person is sincere, you should buy the Nikayas and study the Nikayas. Nikayas are not like story books, you don't read them once and throw them away. You keep reading again and again until you finish your lifetime. There is nothing more precious than the Dhamma. Nothing more precious than the words of the Buddha. So don't think that they are disprinted words. If the words of the Buddha are not around, then what is the purpose of the Buddha's teaching? If words are not important, the Buddha would not have spent 45 years teaching 5,000 over discourses to us. And this, through the efforts of a lot of arahants, was transmitted generation to generation to generation in its pure form down to us. And if we don't make use of this opportunity, we have wasted this opportunity as a life, as a human being. In the suttas it is mentioned, that when devas pass away, devas, they have shining bodies, and they have beautiful, clean bodies, but when they are about to pass away, their clothes begin to get dirty. They start to sweat, they have body odor, and their minds become very restless. So when other devas notice, they know that their friend is going to pass away. And then they give this friend who is going to pass away 3 advice according to the Buddha. Firstly, try to get rebirth as a human being if you can. Because if they have enough good karma left, they can still take a human rebirth. If they don't have that good karma, they will become a ghost or an animal. That's the first advice. Secondly, have saddha in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. In other words, go and become a Buddhist. Third one is to attain stream winning. And how to attain stream winning? Stream winning is an Arya. And the lowest form of Arya, in fact all Aryas, the basic condition for an Arya to become an Arya is to get right view. If you don't have right view, you are not an Arya. Right view means understanding the Four Noble Truths. In one sutta, the Buddha said, in one of his previous lives, he was a Brahmin, and he gave so much dana. He gave 84,000 bucketfuls of gold, 84,000 bucketfuls of silver, 84,000 bucketfuls of precious stones. And the cows and the goats and the sheep and the chickens and the ducks he gave away were countless. And the food and drinks he gave away flowed like the river, the big river. In spite of all that, the Buddha said his merit was very small. Why? Because there was no person with right view to receive it. In other words, no Arya, all Putujana. Okay? The Buddha said the merit would have been greater if he had given food to one stream enterer. So actually, you can make dana to a stream enterer. It's not that a stream enterer immediately becomes a fruit attainer. If a path attainer immediately becomes a fruit attainer, you have no chance to do dana to a path attainer. And in another sutta, the Buddha said to attain right view, there are 2 conditions. One is listening to the Dhamma. The second condition is having yoniso manasikara. Yoniso manasikara, you can say, is thorough attention, thorough contemplation, thorough consideration. So when you are listening to the Dhamma, you must pay thorough attention. Don't be like some people, when they are cooking, they put on the Dhamma. Well, of course, if you have no time, that's better than nothing. Arahant is very hard to find. But stream winner plenty. Chula Sotapanna is one of those, I think, terms that were created later. What we have in the suttas is there are 8 types of Arya. The first path, attainer, the first fruit, second path, second fruit, third path, third fruit, fourth path, fourth fruit. Now if a person has attained stream winning, the first path, he has not eliminated any of the fetters. It takes some time to turn into fruit. When he attains fruit, then the 3 fetters are eliminated. Sakaya Ditti, Sila, Bhatta, Paramasa, and doubt. Now, but if a person understands the basic Dhamma and has become a stream winner, then he becomes a different person. He will realize that the most precious thing in the world is the Dhamma. And the most important duty of us as human beings is to practice the Dhamma. That is your most important duty. Because it's very hard to meet the Dhamma. Very hard to get a human body, and even more hard to meet the true Dhamma. Once a person has attained stream entry, he has unshakable faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. He will never change his religion. The other thing, another characteristic mentioned in the suttas of a stream winner is that he will not look for a teacher anymore. He only knows that the Dhamma is his teacher. People who have not attained stream entry, who have not attained understanding of the Dhamma, always go all over the world, Yes. So after my experience, I refused to look for any other teacher, and I studied the Buddha's words. And at that time, when I was studying the Buddha's words, some monks, they said, they criticized me for not looking for teachers and all that. But after studying the Buddha's words, I realized that I was following the Buddha's instructions. The Buddha said, be a lamp unto yourselves, be a refuge unto yourselves, be no other refuge. Take the Dhamma as your lamp, take the Dhamma as your refuge, be no other refuge. When you study the Buddha's words, and you understand them, you also look for another teacher. The Buddha is our teacher. That's why the Buddha said, after I am gone, take the Dhamma and Vinaya as your teacher.
Sometimes some people think that if you enter the state of jhana, you are wasting your time. This is very far from the truth. Suppose now, I ask you, suppose if a person were to enter a state of nibbana, now when he's still alive, if he can spend his time in the state of nibbana, is that a waste of time?
No.
Because that is the goal of the holy life. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. And actually a person can spend his time in the state of jhana, in the state of nibbana. And what is this state of nibbana that a person can spend his time in? It is a state called Nirodha Samapatti. Have you all heard?
Yes.
What is Nirodha Samapatti? This state is defined as cessation of perception and feeling, right? Or sometimes in short, just cessation. So when there is perception, cessation of perception and feeling, It also means that there is cessation of consciousness. And this consciousness refers to the 6 consciousnesses. The seeing consciousness, the hearing, the smelling, taste, touch, and thinking consciousness. So when these 6 consciousness stops, the world stops. Right? There's, as far as that person who enters that state is concerned, there is no world. That is the state of Nibbana. Yeah? And that is a state where sometimes Arahants enter, like the Buddha. They enter this, for example, immediately after the Buddha was enlightened, he spent 49 days. Actually more than 49 days. But can say 49 days. The first 7 days, he would just go into this state and just experience it, enjoy it. Because it is the most blissful state you can experience. The Buddha says, Nibbana paramang sukham. Nibbana is the highest bliss. And then some people ask him, how come? In Nibbana, there is no perception, there is no feeling, there is no consciousness. How come it's the highest bliss? The Buddha said, yes. Even though there is no feeling, there is no consciousness, still it is the highest bliss. How can we understand this? To give us an idea how Nibbana is the greatest bliss, we compare it to sleeping. When we go to sleep at night, there are 2 types of sleep. Much of the night is spent in a dreaming state. So the first type of sleep is when you fall asleep and you have a lot of dreams. And scientists say this is necessary because when we dream, we break down all the compounds, all the dirt in our brain. We clean our brain when we dream. So, this dream state is not a very blissful state because when you are dreaming, sometimes it can be unpleasant dreams, sometimes it can be frightening dreams, and exciting dreams and all that. So because you are dreaming, it's not a very restful sleep. However, there is another type of sleep which is a very deep state of sleep. And in this very deep state of sleep, there is no dreaming. It is so deep that you are not aware of anything. You are not even aware that you exist. It's precisely because you are not aware that you exist that it is so blissful. When that I arises, that me arises, dukkha arises. So in that deep sleep state, it's so blissful, and you are not aware. Suppose now you are in the deep sleep state and somebody calls you. You are not even aware. Somebody calls you. It has to shake you hard, then only you can get up. So it is because of this very deep sleep state that sleep is very enjoyable. So when we get up in the morning, some say like your mother or your husband or your wife wakes you up, time to go to work. And you wake up, then you want to fall asleep again, because it's so enjoyable, you want to go back to sleep. Not because of that sleep state, because of the deep sleep state. So this deep sleep state, where you are not aware of anything, you are not even aware of yourself, that can be likened to Nibbana. Only thing Nibbana is much more deep. So, that is why the Buddha said, Nibbanang Paramang Sukham. So, Arahants and Anagamins, only these two classes of people can attain this state of Nirodha Samapatti. And they abide in this state for a maximum of 7 days. And when they are in this state, not only has the body stopped, even the heart also has stopped beating, and then the breathing has stopped, and the consciousness has stopped. So, if you see a person in this state, you might think that he is dead. But there's one difference between this person and a dead person. And what is that? If you touch this person, you feel his body is still warm. Whereas if a person is dead, his body will turn cold. And this state is a very, very special state. It is mentioned in the suttas that one of the disciples of a previous Buddha, he entered this state deep in the forest. Then these people who went into the forest to find firewood and graze their cows and all that, they saw this monk in this state of Nirodha Samapatti in the forest. And he was not moving, so they came up to him, called him, also no response. So they felt his breath, no breath. Then they touched his heart, no heartbeat. So they assumed that he was dead. So they collected a lot of wood, dead wood, and they piled it on top of him and set it on fire. They thought give him a good send-off. So they went back to their village. The next morning, they saw this monk coming for alms round Pindapata. And they got a shock, they thought the ghost came. And then later, talking with him, they found that fire cannot harm a person in that state of Nirodha Samapatti. Nothing can harm him. So it's a very, very special state. And very, very few people can attain that state. So Arahants who can attain that state, they like to abide in that state. That is Nibbana here and now. Now there are other states which are slightly less than this, but in the nature of this state of Nirodha Samapatti, and these are called Janasa. The 4 Rupa Janas and the 4 Arupa Janas. When a person attains these Jhana states, he goes into a deep state and leaves the world behind him. Because this world is the world of the 6 senses. If we ask ourselves, how do we know that the world exists? We must come to that conclusion that we only know that the world exists because we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste, we can touch. And these 5 senses tell us there is an outer world. And the thoughts makes us realize that there is an inner world also. Yeah? But actually, in the Buddha's teachings, these 6 senses are all external. Not only the 5 external senses, even the 6. Because when we meditate and we go deep into our mind, as we practice samatha meditation, we practice, say, concentrating on the breath. We keep putting our attention on the breath, and slowly as we are able to do this, we go deeper and deeper into our mind. And it's not easy to go into our mind, The mind is a little similar to the ocean. If you try to go deep into the ocean, what happens? Firstly, you run out of breath. Then suppose you send something which doesn't have to breathe, a submarine. You send a submarine into the ocean. If it's not strong enough, when it goes deeper, it gets crushed, completely crushed. So the ocean is so strong. And also, the ocean doesn't like you to go inside the ocean. For example, you pull a ping pong ball, you pull it into the water, and then you release it, the water will push the ping pong ball out. So in the same way also, when a person dies in the ocean also will push it up to the surface. So in the ocean, we only use the surface of the ocean. We swim on the ocean, the ships ply on the ocean, and we are only on the surface of the ocean. So we don't realize how powerful the ocean is down there. In the same way, we only use the surface of our mind. Our thinking mind, our everyday mind, it's only on the surface of the mind. But when we meditate and we stop noticing the sights, the sounds, the smells, the taste, the touch and the thoughts, then we just concentrate on one object. Keep on concentrating on one object. Then you are going back to your original home. You're going back into the mind. Deeper and deeper and deeper into the mind. And as we go deeper into the mind, you will begin to realize how powerful the mind is. You begin to feel the strength of the mind. There is nothing more strong than the mind. Because if you go into the mind, then the whole world is inside your mind. And when you begin to go inside your mind slowly, you are not only aware, you're not only cut off all awareness of the outside world. Slowly, you cut off even awareness of your own body. So your thoughts will stop. So the world of the six senses, slowly, you withdraw from the world of the six senses, and you go deeper, deeper, deeper into your real self, a real mind. So then you attain the various levels of samadhi, the first jhana. In the first jhana, there is still a little bit of, you could say, thinking. But the Buddha says it is only skillful thinking. You don't have unskillful thoughts. Meaning that you don't think everyday things like thinking about your work or your house or your duties and all that. You don't think of those things. But you might think, I have attained this state, it's so pleasant. I must remember to retrace my steps. I must remember how I attained this state so that I can repeat it. But when you go deeper and you go into the second jhana, the mind becomes so strong and unshakable that even the thoughts also cannot arise. And then you feel piti and sukha. And this piti and sukha is deep. But it is subtle, not like later books they say, it's so strong and all that. It's a subtle feeling, that's what the Buddha said in the suttas. So when a person enters these states of jhana, these steps of jhana are actually halfway stations to nibbana. If you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, it ends up in that nirodha samapatti, a state of cessation. So just now I said that if you were given the choice whether you can experience nibbana here and now, you definitely would want to. So in the same way, these halfway stations to nibbana, if you can experience them, you will also want to experience them. So those arahants who have become liberated, they have a lot of time. They're waiting for the day to pass away. So every day they spend their time in either the various stages of jhana or in Nirodha Samapatti. If you look into the Samyutta Nikaya, like on Sariputta, you find sometimes one whole day he spends in the first jhana, another day he spends in the second jhana, another day he spends in the third jhana, fourth jhana, and arupa jhanas. So there was one day when he and the Arahant Moggallana, both of them were in the forest. And monks during the Buddha's time, during the day they go Pindapata, they get their food, they come back, they eat, and then the rest of their day they meditate. And then when the sun goes down, they will come together and discuss the Dhamma. So Venerable Moggallana and Sariputta came together, and Venerable Moggallana asked Venerable Sariputta how he spent his day, and he said he spent his day abiding in, don't know, the first or the second or the third jhana. And Venerable Sariputta asked Venerable Moggallana in return, and how about you? How did you spend your day? And then he said, oh, today I did not abide in jhana. I spent the day in the world of the six senses. Then Venerable Sariputta asked him, how did you spend the day in the world of the six senses? Then he said, he spent the day discussing Dhamma with the Buddha. Then Venerable Sariputta said, but we are here so far from the Bhagavan. How did you manage to talk to the Bhagavan? Did you go to the Bhagavan or did the Bhagavan come to you? And then he said, I did not go to the Lord and he did not come to me. But just as a Lord can see me from far with his psychic power, so I can also see him from far with my psychic power. Just as he can hear me with his psychic hearing, I also can hear him with my psychic hearing. So in this way, we converse with each other. Then our Venerable Sariputta praised our Venerable Moggallana for having such great psychic power. He said, myself, even a mud sprite, spirit in the mud, that's why I cannot see. But Venerable Sariputta, even though he has no psychic power, he has all the jhanas and Nirodha Samapatti. Only thing is he did not cultivate the psychic power. So some people think that if you have jhana, you must have psychic power. No. So you see, these arahants, if they know that the world of the six senses is a world of dukkha, so they don't want to abide in the world of dukkha, so they abide in jhana every day or in Nirodha Samapatti. So it's not a waste of time like some people think. In fact, in the sutta, the Buddha said there are two types of pleasures. One is worldly pleasures. That the Buddha says he does not encourage his disciples to enjoy. Why? Because it ends in dukkha. As Hokkien say, Thao Ti Boi Kho. Beginning is sweet, the end is bitter. But the spiritual path is the opposite. Thao Kho Boi Ti. If we practice the spiritual path, the beginning is very hard, a lot of hardship, a lot of dukkha, but the end is very sweet. The Buddha said there are two types of pleasures. One is worldly pleasure, the other one is the bliss of jhana, the bliss of meditation. The Buddha said that he encourages his disciples to enjoy the bliss of meditation. Why? Because he says there are 4 advantages from enjoying the bliss of meditation. Sotapanna, Sakadagamin, Anagamin, and Arahanthood. So if you continually practice the jhanas and you listen to the Dhamma, it must end with getting the various stages of Aryahood. Yesterday I tried to explain a bit the characteristics of a stream winner. And I said that firstly the Buddha says a stream winner has unshakable faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Secondly, the Buddha says once you have that understanding of the Four Noble Truths, you have right view, then the Buddha says you become independent of others in the Buddha's teachings. In other words, you don't need to look for a teacher. You know yourself exactly how to walk this path. And you also know that the Buddha is your real teacher. And to constantly study the suttas to get his advice. If we study the suttas, it is as though the Buddha is sitting next to us and speaking to us. Another thing is, I mentioned last night, that if you have this right view of the Dhamma, then you will realize that the most precious thing in the world is the Dhamma, meaning the suttas. And there is nothing more important to do in the world than to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, to study the suttas and to meditate. So these are some of the characteristics which will give you some confidence. Some people have been taught that to attain this stage of stream winner, then you must have a certain experience. The commentaries like to say they see that you see the sign of Nibbana, but they cannot explain what is the sign of Nibbana. But just now I mentioned Nibbana is the state where the consciousness ceases. So if you have not attained jhana, you cannot experience this. So it is not possible for a stream winner to experience Nibbana. So we must remember some of these statements, if they come from the commentaries, if they come from the later books, you must take it with a pinch of salt. Don't simply swallow it. You have to study the suttas, and the suttas say that this practice of the holy path is a very gradual training. The Buddha said, just as you walk into the ocean gets deeper and deeper and slowly gets deeper and deeper. It does not suddenly sink very deep. So in the same way, the Buddha says our progress on this spiritual path is very gradual. And after some time of practice and study, then you have that confidence that you have unshakable faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. You have the confidence that you know enough Dhamma that you can practice on your own, relying on the words of the Buddha and yourself. You don't need a teacher. Then you can say that you have the confidence that you have entered the stream